Hello everyone, nice to see you tonight here at Shukhov Lab. Today we have an event connected with the master program Prototyping Future Cities. I expect that all of you came interested about this program and the opportunities that this program proposes. And today we are going to talk mostly about this program, what we are doing, which skills we are developing on this education program. And here today we are going to have presentations by the academic supervisor of the master program, Mr. Vicente Garay. Also, we're going to have two presentations by the tutors of this master program, some presentations of the students of the recent project that they're doing now, and a presentation by me, by coordinator of the master program. My name is Nadia Court, and also you can, after events, come to me and ask any questions you have. So I would like to invite Vicente.
Thank you, Nadia. Well, first of all, I'd like to know, maybe you can say your name and which is your background, okay? If you are an economist, an artist, a musician, or...
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm an architect.
Hello, I'm Jelena. I'm a wife of architect.
You are wife of architect, very important, well, very hard life, yeah, I understand you.
Hello, my name is Anastasia. I work in supply chain.
Supply chain?
Logistics.
Hello, my name is Arkady and I'm a system and business analyst.
Hello, my name is Ola and I'm architect student.
Hello, my name is Paul and I'm a history of art historian.
Hello, my name is Grigory and I'm an architect in urban planning.
Hello, my name is Azat and I'm an aircraft engineer. My name is Marat and I'm also an aircraft engineer.
Hello, my name is Helen. I'm architect.
My name is Neil. I'm an architect too.
Hello, my name is Diana and I'm an economics student.
Hello, my name is Liana and I'm fond of foreign languages and an architect too.
Good evening, I'm Dania and I'm cartographer.
Well, hello everyone, my name is Nelly and I'm an Asian studies student.
Hello, my name is Anastasia, I'm a lawyer.
Good evening, my name is Valeria and I'm a student of HSC. I'm studying media and communication.
Good. Okay, so thank you for your presentation. I think there is one lost. So I think that with your profile you define very well what is a city, because a city really is a complex system, and the city is produced and transformed and built and invented by many different people and many different backgrounds and people need in order to be developed. So that's why we decided to start. HSC asked me, as you may know, I was chief architect of Barcelona during 4 years, and then High School of Economics asked me to start this master program. We have here students from the first generation that they are always working and why they are working right now. They will finish the first generation of graduate student will be, of master student will be this year. And what we represent here is the idea that what we decided is to create the education that we do here is based on the idea of learning by doing. So that's why we live in an open space. People work here all the time. We are expanding our facilities, and we will show, although it's under construction, maybe later we can make some visits because we have some new robots and machines in some space there. But the idea for this space is to have a flexible space in the center of the city where, in parallel to events, we have lectures like, or presentations like Mayor of Moscow that was here. The question is why we need a master like this, and why maybe you are thinking to learn more about cities. The question is that we live in a world of cities. Before the world was organized around countries around the organization in a territory that was organized sometimes between conflict between countries. But if we see one image from the satellite, we see that the reality that the people is living in places like this, that almost there are no borders, and the reality is that each of these dots is the concentration of economical activity, of human lives, of people that want to have education, people that they are moving up and down. And the question is, cities are becoming obviously not a problem. Cities are the solution for many of the challenges that we have in front of us. People go to live in cities because they have access normally to education, because they have access to work, because they have access also to social interaction. And this is the deep reason of why people is moving to live in cities. The process of urbanization happened everywhere, let's say, except maybe in Africa during the 20th century. In China, there was in the last 30 years. In Russia, has been a slow process. The same, I would say, Europe has been a more urbanized place for many years. In America, this happened in the 19th century. And the question is that today we live in places like this. We live in places that in many cases they are already built. Almost 50% of the population, they live in some artificial constructions, because everything that you see here has been invented, has been done by the human beings. We call this urbanization, and this is the word the urban planners and economists and geographers used to develop, let's say, as a process starting from a free and green area. And the truth is that we have right now a planet where the cities are, I would say, there are many cities are already there. There will be few more cities in Africa and some places in Asia, but the truth is that we need to deal now with the reality that the cities are already built, and we need to see how we deal with the potential that we have with the technological challenges and the technological possibilities that we have in front of us. In fact, we are here because with this digital revolution, the digital technologies, like any technology along the history, allows to work in the cities in different ways. And the question, and this is something I learned when I was chief architect, is that today there are very few people that knows about what is a city and what are the potential of technologies. Or we have the IT engineers in one side, or we have the politicians in one side, or we have the architects in one side, or we have the engineers of the economy in one side, but the mixed knowledge doesn't exist. And this is really a problem, because a good decision is not taken by three different people that you put together. Conversations are good. I mean, in the cities, you have always meetings in order to take decisions. But, for example, the biotechnology and the revolution connected with the human genome was possible because there were doctors that were experts in computation, and that's why they invented a new discipline. So what happened in the last 10 years is that this merge started to happen. This is what is having so-called smart cities. But the truth is that there are not experts on that. There are very few people that knows about technology, about sensors, and about how to map data, and about how to make a project in the city itself. So that means that the first evolution connected with the digital technologies, well, I was there. I remember the world before Google, or the world before Instagram. Maybe you don't remember. But I was there, and we were working, we were imagining how to work, how to explore the World Wide Web before, as I say, Google and many other things. And the question is that the first use of technology was to send emails. The second big use was for commerce. The third big use has been for the social networks. And now we are in a new generation on using the technologies in order to transform the physical world. So this is connected with Airbnb, with Uber, with the new systems of transportation, because these technologies are using the existing physical structures in order to change things. But there are many things to be done. There are, you know, in the next 50 years that you will be working, you will see huge changes in the cities. And these changes need to be invented yet, need to be created yet. The world will be different as we know today. And the question is not only about data, but about also the physical space. If you came here like 5 years ago, the streets were full of cars. Here there were parkings in the street. And today, Moscow and other cities decide to start to remove the cars from the city, to start to have the sharing bike that we have there, to start to have more public transportation, to start to include bikes. And this is something that didn't happen 10 years ago. So that means that the space, public space, the buildings are under transformation. And the question is that Higher School of Economics asked me to try to imagine, and have been working with Nadia, with Ivan, with Lena, and with many other people to imagine how we could create a program in order to share our knowledge with the new generations. So this is the city that we have been looking to, but then the new ways to look at the cities is by looking to the data and looking with some new aids that are only possible because of technologies of information. Another important thing is that when we talk about data and about information, we can imagine many different ways. So we can imagine the physical spaces, we can imagine the networks, we can imagine the physical structure of the city. And that means that the way we transform the city, the physical space, the connections, and the behavior of the people are connected with what is the city itself. The city is not the physical space, and the city is not only the people. The city is everything that happens in the city, that are the people interacting between each other, interacting with the public space, with the bus, with the car, with the water, with energy, with the commerce, with the tourists, and with any potential thing that can happen in the city. So that means that what we decide, we could organize a master program in different ways, in many different ways, about how to deal with the city. But what we decided was to make a master plan, a master program that is quite generalistic. So that means that the students, you will see now, will be learning to many different things, and this will allow also the different profiles, as you have here, like architects, economists, cartographers, logistics, I like the word today, to see how the project of the city can be developed. So we are in this space, and this space is funny because the traditional education that was happening here was like this, was a traditional class with some professors and some people sitting. But then we did a transformation of this space, and the university has been, I would say, generous in order to understand that new content need new forms of education. Yeah, this is the truth. You see the pillar here that was covered, and then suddenly discovered with Leon, that was the architect that helped me the transformation to find this place. So that means that the space for us is also very important because they find very well how we work and which is the kind of education that we have. Because we are trying to teach to the students, but the students are learning between each other. In general, they talk between each other more than with the professors. But that means that we decide to create what is the so-called Fab Lab, a laboratory of fabrication that are connected with many other laboratories of fabrication around the world in order to have access to laser cutters, 3D printers, and now I hope in the next month we'll open a big CNC machine to do even bigger fabrications and bigger constructions. So Nadia will explain more about the idea of trying to mix the knowledge about the city, the knowledge about the technology, and also the social knowledge. In fact, we give a lot of importance to history, to culture, not only to the techie thing, but also the background of why we make the things. Not how we make the things, but why we make the things. And then what we try is to create, let's say, to develop the skills of the people that in many cases are developed by learning software and doing projects. So this program is a project-oriented program. We try to do projects always, and we try to build things with our own hands. The program is a 2-year program where we have always city projects area on technology, we call management, culture, and information. And then in the last semester, there will be a graduation project and some internships that, in fact, these students are preparing right now. We are doing a research trip. Last year, we went to Barcelona. This year, we go to Copenhagen with all the students. And then you will get an accreditation that allows you to do planning in Russia. So this is an official master plan that beyond things that you will never imagine how to do planning using big data, this is something you will be able to do. So I will pass very fast because the classes, as you will see, has a lot of diversity related with what we call the city projects, about small scale and about medium scale and about big scale. We are dealing with digital fabrication. This is the machine that is inside there in order to do big fabrications. We are doing also prototypes of very experimental things. This is a project by Lena and Ivan developing the production of energy using plants. And also we try to look for new interfaces in order to interact with the digital world. We are also dealing with, we call recording sociology, trying to look at the reality. We are reading and analyzing the history. We like to have an important cultural background, but also we have classes on economy, on laws. Lawyers are very important in order to make cities. If you make many good ideas that you have, they will be illegal. And then you need to be able to understand how to make a law or a regulation in order that this can happen in the city. And then this is fundamental. The business plan and the regulations are also fundamental in order not to collapse the ideas. We are dealing, as we say, the history of urbanism, mapping economy. Yeah, what is called the city protocol, dealing with all the different aspects from the city anatomy. This is a very important diagram that describes the physical part of the city, the society and relation between the physical space and the people that define the broader sense of our research and our education and the new business model. So that is that, as I say, this program is open for many disciplines because the education is very broad. Obviously, those that are more design-oriented, first year we have more architects, second year we have less designers. So in general, we work with multidisciplinarity, with two people. Sometimes one is designing, the other is not designer, because this is how the city is produced, many times by the interaction of people with different disciplines. And then with that, we do projects, we do proposals, we do applications, etc. You will see later some videos, samples of what we are doing. So there are some local tutors, there are some international tutors. Nadia will talk about this. But as I say, the idea is to learn in a place where you can make things, you can fabricate things, you can do prototypes of things. And then you will be able to test in the city itself. So we are participating in exhibitions. We are also doing sometimes some competitions. This was a competition we launched, City for a Flying Wall. This is an interesting concept because when we launched this competition and we start to discuss about flying cars, people say that we were crazy. And then one company, when we were finishing the competition, one company approached to us, one Russian company said, we are doing a flying car, how do you know? And then they say that Uber is launching a new program to have flying cars. Uber has investment from Abu Dhabi, and then they are developing the flying cars. Dubai is the first city in the world where they have a traffic system for drones in 3 dimensions. So that means that this is something is happening. And that means that when we talk about the future, prototyping future cities, the future can be tomorrow, can be 1 year, can be 5 years, or can be 50 years. We don't like 50 years future. Well, we'll be there, really, but this is something we are not focused. We are more focused in the 5 years future. That means something that somehow is challenging what we have in front of us. It's not just, I don't like to think on the future that is done by small upgrades of the reality. Because what is happening today with the technologies is that we have disrupting ways of thinking. This is how Uber, Airbnb, or the flying cars were developed, by doing disruptions. And today is a moment of disruptions. So that's why we like to think on the future in the middle term, not in the very short term and not in the very long term. And what we would like is to share with everyone that want to join the program, to share the idea of working together, learning to work together, and trying to make a better cities for the future. Thank you. Now I leave you with Nadia Hall. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone again, thank you. So Vicente gave you like overall view of what we are doing and what is the concept of this program on the basic and the more general level. And I would like to talk with you more precise about what we already did and which specific skills can be developed inside of this master program, how they are developed, and how to apply to this master to those who are interested in this. And I would like to start with a question. So imagine yourself in 5 or 10 years. So which skills, how do you think, which professional skills will be most useful for you? And which skills that maybe you don't have now in your professional background, you need to have in a recent time, in 3 years, 5 years, or in 10 years. So do you have any idea? For sure, you know, all the professions are fast changing, and specifically now with the new technologies. So how do you think, which skills will be most important for an architect, an urban design, for an urban planner, for a person connected with the creating urban environment in the recent future and far-going future? Data analysis and programming. What else? Soft skills. Which kind of soft skills? Communication techniques. Okay. Something else? Maybe you already feel now that something you need to upgrade in your already career that is special now. Not looking for far future, but for the next year or for the couple of years ahead. So you are all perfect professionals. What are you doing here? Okay, so maybe you already looked at our booklets. We divide these skills into tech, so-called hard skills, and as you mentioned, soft skills. And I would like just to go through this set of skills, and starting with the tech and what we're doing inside of the program. We start, as Vicente mentioned, in the first semester with working with electronics design, fabrication and programming, and giving the students from different backgrounds, because we have students with architecture, urban design backgrounds, also with economics backgrounds, lawyers. We give them the overall view of how the digital fabrication works and why we need this to be urban designers, and how electronics works, how to build the simple sensor to assess the mobility in the city, to assess the noise in the city, to assess the energy in the city, and many, many other criteria. So we're also working, as I mentioned, with the digital fabrication, like laser cutting, like CNC milling, and different things. And we're doing this also in the very beginning, when students just come to the program, and they're working with one who is also here, tutor for this module. And here we try to show that you can produce with your own hands any type of project. that you can think out of the box, that you can imagine anything and produce it right here in the lab. And this field, just in the very beginning of the program, gives you an understanding that whenever you want, any idea is possible. We're also working with the big machines, with the big robots, and this is the video from the Global Summer School that we did 2 years ago together with Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia here in Moscow. And this prototype was produced here in the lab, but students were working with the big KUKA robot at our partner spot. We're also working, of course, being the urban designers with with the 3D modeling, with the computer design, with the parametric design, and this is a part of the project we produced together with students for the Moscow Urban Forum last summer. We're working with the prototype of the building of the housing of the future. And of course, being an urban designer, you also need to produce good 3D modeling and 3D design, and this is also one of the tech hard skills that is essential now. The part of this, quite big part of the program is connected with data analysis and with mapping. And here today we have Vadim Smakhtin, who's going, I think, to add something about this, because he is specifically in his course also working with this, but many other professors in the big data part courses working with the maps, with data analysis, and with implementing these tools, these instruments to the urban level. But of course, this is great to have to know all the programs, to be able to use digital fabrication, to be able to analyze data, to have a set of instruments, but without soft skills, you will not be successful, because you will not be able to talk to people, you will not be able to talk to partners, to the clients, and to make the projects work, to make the integrated projects that work and that can be implemented in the city. That's why quite a big part of the program is dedicated to the soft skills, developing soft skills. We're having lots of presentations at different exhibitions, forums, and here inside of the lab, of course. Part of this, we think that nowadays using social media writing is also very, very important. That's why we're having the course in critical writing and reading, and the students are developing, this is the articles of the students of this first year about different topics that they are producing during the first semester. Strategical thinking is quite important. This is part of our Barcelona workshop, which we had last April, where we had the discussions with the professionals in urban mobility, in urban energy, in housing, and trying to develop the strategies of the future development of all these spheres that are present in the cities nowadays. A part of this, as you understand, everything is developing quite fast now and changing quite fast. That's why you need to be adaptable. You need to take those new challenges that arise every day behind you, and you need to have an understanding in different topics. That's why we are developing the multitasking, the decision-making and problem-solving side of the programs together with the professionals. We are going to infrastructure objects, trying to understand how the city works and how it can be implemented into the realm that around us. So this is in general about the skills, but of course there are many more. I was not mentioning the specific programs, specific software, which we are teaching inside of the program, because actually we think that nowadays anyone can go to internet and find course on a program, but of course we're helping with this. And about curriculum, I would like to mention, so how do you think those skills that I was just mentioning, in which set of subjects can be divided? For example, soft skills or tech skills. I know that you already seen the booklet, so it's not very fair. But just imagine, all of you have some education, some maybe in Russia or abroad, I don't know. So how you imagine how this set of different hard and tech skills can be, in which set of subjects and which set of workshops can be implemented in one educational program. Just name something that comes into your mind first. For example, you be an architect, of course you had some subjects like, I don't know, urban design, yes? Yes. But imagine such skill, as I mentioned, the soft skill of decision making, in which subject or in which type of work it can be introduced. How do you think? How you can develop it by yourself during the educational program? Doing what? Which type of activities? How you are doing this? Like, do you have a specific activities, discussions, you know? So you communicate with a set of people trying to promote this project or something. Something else, maybe some more ideas. So the main idea here is that to be successful, as you already mentioned, today you need to communicate a lot and you need to understand the language of other people, of other professionals. In classical urban design or architecture programs, you are usually communicate only with architects or with urban planners inside of your programs, inside of your during your education. What we try to do here, we try to merge different disciplines. And the main principle, one of the main principles of the program is the multidisciplinary approach. That's why we're having a quite big part of the program connected with urban design. For example, the first year, in the first year, we're having the city project course, and again, city project course in the second semester. But a part of this, we're having the layer of management courses, like new business models or legal regulations. We have the layer of culture courses connected with reading and writing, connected with history of urbanism, and of course, information, which is one of the main assets. Nowadays, we have the layer connected with information like recording sociology and the big data. And we follow this principle of having different layers and merging them, this multidisciplinary approach, during the 2 years of education. On the second year as well, you have the city project course, but that goes to the urban level. In the first year, you have the building level. In the second year, you have the urban level. And again, you have the information level, the mapping economy. Here we try to understand how we can map economy and which data we can get from this, how we can use it for our future projects. We have management layer connected with impact analysis. We try to understand how the projects that we are developing will impact the future urban path. We have technology layer and we have culture layer as well. And in the end, you make your own graduation project and having an internship. So for the tutors, also you have the booklet, you can go deeper or you can ask me later. We have a set of young local tutors, but also the, the guest lecturers, and when we are going to field trips, like in Barcelona and Copenhagen, we're having the lectures and intensive workshops there with international tutors who are more connected with the environment, like in Europe or in other parts of the world. About key facts of the program, which degree you have, at the end you have the Urban Studies and Development degree. In Russia it's called Gradostроительство, so this is the official degree of the Russian educational standard. All the program is taught in English during the 2 years. You see the price, this is a commercial, this is the full tuition master program, tuition fee master program, and there is scholarship opportunity in case you apply before the 14th of April, and in case you get with your portfolio at least 70 scores, you can get a scholarship which is equivalent to the 20% discount of the tuition fee. So how to apply? To apply, you need to have the portfolio. As we are having the applicants from different fields, that's why it may be not so classical architectural portfolio, as many of you know. This is a little bit different. So you need to provide the copy of your previous education, bachelor or master, with the transcripts of your grades, the resume, the CV, 2 letters of recommendations from your academic supervisors or from your employees, and the motivation letter. And here you can see how it is assessed. So quite a lot of points go to motivation letter. 30 out of 100 points go to motivation letter, so you need really to understand why you go to this program, why you need this, and which kind of projects you can develop inside of this program. And also quite a lot of points go to the interview with the academic supervisor, with Mr. Goyard, who is here. The interview can be taken offline in case him is in Moscow, but also online by Skype. And also you see the division of different scores. So you can subscribe to our social media if you are not, to our Facebook, Instagram, Contact. This is our WhatsApp number. You can WhatsApp us if you have any question. So thank you for your attention. And now we are continuing with the presentations of our great tutors. Andrei, Vadim. Yes, we start with Vadim. Yes, we have the Vadim, who is the tutor of the technology course in the second year, who is the partner of Habitum company, and also one of the tutors for city project course in the first year.
Hi everyone. So while my presentation is loading, I'm really happy to see you all here. So it would be fun to answer all of your questions, but instead you're sitting and I'm talking. So I will talk about boring stuff basically. So I'm sort of course technology, right? But can we enable my presentation, please?
Yeah, the projector is off.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm of course technology, and on my course we are doing a really repetitive and boring task. So we are not learning to program, but instead we are trying to understand how this micro things inside of cities, like protocols, chips, all of these things are working together. And basically that's it. And while everybody is coming here to learn how to make a cutting-edge technology, instead we are focused on revitalizing our technology, because just to avoid reimagining it's over and over again, it's almost a presentation. Instead, we are trying to look into some technologies that was already understandable before, and find the proper ways of using it. Still, my clicker is not working. Yeah? No. It makes this strange sound. Look, I can make a beat with it. This revitalization of technology inside of cities, I think it's super important, because it allows us to take some things that was already burned under this super intense media coverage, like when we was in this blockchain boom, and rethink them. And this rethinking, I think it comes over, still works. It comes in steps. So first, as I told before, we are, oh wow, cool. So first, we started with all of this stuff. So it's like the protocols and services, and learn how to make it look as a user-facing service. Because well, look into cities as a complex and superstructured objects. All those objects are operated by services, and that's a cool vice versa thinking. Because when I'm saying that city is operated by service, I really mean it. Because services are becoming the sort of politics. Because the impact of service can be so great that it will be or can be used as a political or transformative tool. So while we're seeing this word politics here, I think it's super important to put it close to the word scale and usable, because as soon we introduce a service to city that is so usable that it's super hard to live without it. We can scale it because the number of users is growing, and at some point it becomes politics. And no, I really don't understand how it's. And at the end, it's nothing new here, because the technologies we are using, as I told you, they are from 90s. That is a very important thing to understand, because what makes technologies cool is when we are putting them into urban context at scale, and then speculate on politics. So I want to show you the several projects that we made with the students from previous year, just to get you into context. So that's a decentralized transport monitoring system, which works basically as a Yandex transport, but can be deployed into any kind of city that doesn't have informational infrastructure. That's important because while we are thinking about smart cities, about things that already have internet, already have this wireless payment systems, all this stuff, we thinking about this small portion of the world that we used to live in. Instead, we have another portion of the world where we don't have basic things like roads or water supply system. And I think that introducing a digitalization into such areas are super important here. And in this transport project, we are looking into how we can transfer information without network. So we were inspired by mesh networks. When you connect a Wi-Fi point to another Wi-Fi point, you can transmit information in between these Wi-Fi points. And this looks basically like this is. So the bus comes to the bus stop and transfers the information to the bus stop. And then another bus comes to another bus stop and receives this information. So the bus probably works like an infected machine, right? So it's have a virus infection of a data inside of it, that spreads the infection over the whole transport network. The technology inside of it is really simple and cheap, but the effect that you can get here is important because it's allow us to first make a technology that goes in between of politics. Because we make a technology that can be installed by users as their own, and don't wait while government will introduce such service. And also it's super cheap. So one of these devices costs around $5 or $10. And we're also trying to avoid any kind of like an application service instead of this tool, because we think that people cannot have like advanced phones to access the service, or they can just use an outdated OS. So we introduce this simple web service that is inside of the chip that we installed on a bus stop, and this makes this interface accessible. And of course, you can avoid using smartphone at all, make some displays, but it will increase the device cost. Another project that I wanted to show you is the Bikeable City. So the Bikeable City is a project where we're making an infrastructure monitoring tool from a basically bike sharing. So using bike sharing as a data collection network, we are able to collect information about the current status of roads. This is also a super simple tech. So we're using an accelerometer inside of your phones and mounting it. While we are mounting this phone on your bicycle, we basically collect the accelerometer information. And detecting anomalies in this accelerometer data, we're able to detect road bumps, hole in the roads, all this stuff. Super simple and really like several decades old. And also, the course of this project is that it can be integrated rapidly, so we even don't need to have someone like a municipality integrator as an integration agent. And the third and last project is an Internet of Workspaces. The Internet of Workspaces is a again, crowdsourcing project where we have this sensor that we install in different cafes or restaurants. And this sensor allows to measure how loud is this cafe and restaurant. Basically, we are trying to rethink the co-working environment and to understand how we can use these spaces like cafes or shops maybe even as a co-working place. And we set a simple metric that we want to count people inside of this object, and that's it. But instead of using a camera tracking software, which we think disturbs your privacy, we are using simple sensors that collect temperature, humidity, noise. And our idea is that using machine learning techniques, using this, again, Decado technology, we will be able to count how many people are inside of a place. And recently, the project was released called Brainboard Smart District that we did in consortium with Unit to the Metabolic Architecture Felix and ISC of Habilitation participated in it. In this Brainboard Smart District, we also used this maybe a little bit refreshed data collection ideology where we are trying to monitor infrastructure instead of monitoring people. Because this you will learn during my courses is that while we're talking about smart cities, this the question of data tracking or like tracking people inside of a city is super important because we are balancing in between data privacy and control inside of smart cities. And introducing these fun methods that monitors infrastructure instead of monitoring people, I think it's super important, is really like a next step in smart city tech. That's how you can select a space or restaurant, and I think my presentation is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Vadim. And we are moving with the tutor of the city project course, Andrei Baev, which is also one of our main courses in parallel with technology. So I suppose Andrei will talk in details what we're doing there.
Yep. Hello, everybody. May I have this? Let's see if it works. So the final project that Vadim shows is actually my students were developing that project during the city project course. So we kind of do one project for two modules, and that was actually how it was supposed that technology course supports the project, city project, and city project were meant to be the main project of the courses where we actually design different ideas and where we have the most time to develop those projects. So, okay, let me figure out how that works. Yeah, so the city project is divided into 3 scales. We start with a very small scale of things, of furniture, of wearable devices in the first semester. Then we move towards building system, everything around architecture. And then in the 3rd semester, we deal with urban communities, with like an urban planning scale. And it's eventually evolves into the final project that you can select one topic of you dealt before, and then it's your personal proposal. So I had experience teaching the 1st semester, which is called City Project Things, the scale of urban planning, the scale of object things. And I want to show you now just the first, a small presentation from the first class we had. I just came to students and say, okay, well, that's what we're going to be doing. So I think it will just provide you with some ideas of what it is. So this first semester is something about investigating roles for objects and shaping personal collective experiences. It's about making first step in tech and learning and doing, which is the main theme of our course. First semester, you don't really many of us didn't have any experience working with technology, and this kind of small scale allow you to smooth kind of transition to deal with them. And yeah, and all the time we ask students to produce the full scale prototype that work. Yeah, so I'll skip this one, this small structure. So say, okay, so we imagine you have an object And we introduce you to think about the object and try to reinvent it. So in this particular case, I took example of a chair. And so what is a chair? What kind of a data we can collect out of simple chair? And there's actually a lot of them. So how much time do you sit on chair? At what time exactly you do it? At what location do you sit? Okay, so the sitting in the process, not the chair, but you can sit in different other situations, right? So what color is the seat, how soft it is. So the first exercise was to study and collect very simple, not big data, small data about the seat as a process. And there are so many different situations you sit. You sit on the bike, you sit in your room, you're dining, you sit in the bath. So many different options you can study. Then we do this exercise called reverse engineering, where we take a setting, as a chair in this case, and we just break it up and see how it's built, and ask question why it's built the way it is built, why this detail is in this shape, why this is soft with a strong, etc. And we try to learn from it. Then we try to imagine an abstract model of this object. So what a chair could be apart from something for sitting, it could be a switch. So you sit, lights come up. You stand, lights go off, for example. Or it could be scales. You see and you know your weight, and it could be tracking your weight every day. Or it could be a thermometer, so it could measure your temperature of your body. Or it could be a human identification tool, and that's actually a real research in Japan. So it's like butt recognition. You see, and they know it's you who's sitting there. Then we do, obviously, some design concepts, some proposals, the first initial ones, and we could see which are good, which are not. And there's so many you could work with. Some you can sit while moving. You can have some shape-shifting device that can get small, then get big. You can carry it with you. Or you can have a very high-tech working facility for you. So obviously all the time we do a lot of benchmarking. We look at the internet or other projects that has been done which is similar, we can learn from. We try to contact people who produce that project and try to ask the question, what was the difficulties, what is the stage at the moment of the project. And and then we come to the biggest and the most interesting stage of actually prototyping, testing in the lab, the prototyping again, the testing in the lab. Some students are managed to make 5 to 6 full-scale prototypes, others are not. But eventually we want you to test this somehow in public. We force students to go outside, to go on the street, to go in any place that projects are meant to be used. And then the final thing you would think about, okay, so if this device is being mass-produced, how it will change the way we use the space, for example. If it's a chair in the classroom, or it's at the concert hall, or in the park, or in the public transportation, lots of different options. So, and now, one final thought. So some students are really good at actually seeing where they want to go, and they're all this exercise that we do along the way, they step by step just move into one direction, and it's really I appreciate the ability to know what they want. But majority of students actually are moving like a pendulum from side to side, exploring all sorts of different opportunities, but eventually still coming to the final result that we're looking for. And this is also a good approach. It's you learn a lot on the way, you develop your soft skills, your tech skills, but eventually come up with interesting project, interesting thesis. So I will really quickly go through this project that my student came up last year. So that was a hydrometer. It was about gathering evaporation, gathering water from air. So students worked in groups of 2. You can notice that's a grubby. That was exploration of a small robot that helps you, assists you, and has this feeling not of something that rides, but rather walks. And if you see it moves, it looks like a small crab. That's one name. The flare hugs on air. These girls were really struggling, like this pendulum I mentioned, with this final solution. Somehow, in the very last week, they came up with a very strong idea. So it's like it's closed that can hug you. So they made up an app, and you can send hugs, and it will inflate, and they studied the areas where people hug each other, and they put this kind of inflatable, bubbles, and they will inflate when you send this hug. So the other project is Jules. It's all about how you can control your comfort, temperature comfort, and those Jules is like fish Jules. They will open up in a hot environment, like in a public transport. Imagine during the winter, it's cold outside, it's good, but when you get inside on the metro, it becomes suddenly very hot. So they start investigating how can we breathe up. This is a very simple project. It's all about understanding how can we make an interface very simple, as it like a 4-year-old could understand it or a granny could understand it. So they start to think of smart home and how we can just control everything using a simple white cube. Yep. Another project about reuse of paper. One person made it. Very interesting. So it did a lot of like almost chemical research and how to make paper strong and how to mold different furniture out of it, and then eventually make this pot. And that was a very interesting project. It's a wearable device, it's a necklace that you put on your neck, and it could create certain odor, certain smell, demand, and you can, I don't know, share the app so someone else could start smelling, and they basically hack a vaping machine and turn it into this beautiful object. This final project, these guys were kind of dealing with communication, but not verbal, that is transmitted through vibration, and they made this kind of device that will vibrate in different areas, and you can actually can understand what the message was. All right, and so now I'm stopped teaching this first year course things, because I'm more in like my normal life, I'm dealing more with urban planning, so obviously the communities, the urban communities is my topic to deal with, and I think students today are going to present after me their projects, so I probably just overview the context, the urban context that we were working this semester. And I believe each year we changed the topic a little bit, but this one was the Quarter 82 in Horashov-Novniki district. So we went to the site, we started to study it, that's the site, it's a superblock. So the topic was about the regeneration of Russian superblocks, and we have this renovation program in Moscow going on, so we wanted to position ourselves in that kind of a historical moment. So that's we did all the basic course. This semester, my goal was to, at one side, kind of provide very general understanding of simple urban planning concepts. We studied how different communities, different neighborhoods are organized in terms of theory. The students did some interesting videos about that. I think you might find them on our Facebook. And then we kind of did the very simple research, study all these parametrical numbers. And so this is how it was developed. Typically, yeah, so it first started in the 80s with some infill, the pink, then there's a bit of a purple to the recent development, the developer who is in charge of this area, and they built a couple of them. And then we start to think, how can we actually transform it, but not with one take, but rather evolve slowly over time. And so we introduced the new blocks and new streets of different hierarchy. And we then introduce new plots, do a parcellation, and this parcellation is designed in a way so each plot could be developed independently. And then we write small code for this. It's like a program, you set the rules, and then you let this to be, and out of this code we saw some different opportunities of different block shapes, etc. And eventually each student took their own block and did something with it. So yeah. I'm end with this one, and so this was the framework, and then students start to deal with different projects dealing with technology, and I think a couple of them are going to be presented now, right?
Thank you. So Andrei showed you a shift. He was the tutor of 2 semesters. The first one when we were dealing with the scale of objects, just to overcome this fear of technology and to overcome this and to touch technology a little bit, right? And also he was the tutor of the 3rd semester, where we already go from the scale of prototypes, technologies to the buildings and to the urban communities. And we have a couple of presentations by the students now about the projects they did inside of the city project course in the third semester. So guys, who will start? Okay, Anna. Anna, Valeria.
Hello. We want to introduce you our project. It's Building Pace. It's a project about how we need to manage the community in the digital way. Think about our current environment which we have in our building, and that this scale can give to community opportunity to manage their housing right, how it was in Soviet scale, for example. And we decided to use the idea of weak connection. It's two types of connection, weak and straight. At straight one, it's, for example, your friend, your family, and you may have as maximum 200 or 300 this type of connection, and you can't have this connection to your neighbors, because sometimes the numbers of your neighbors in your house, it's like small city. That's why we want to use this big connection, or which numbers may be so much, and you may use them just when you have to decide your joint problem. And we think about different type of buildings. One of them have, for example, centralized system, other decentralized system, but the problem is that in no one of the system it's not work very well. And more than we think that community in house, it's not just about very big happy family, how it's last time thinking in urban community, we think that it's more about politics, right, in house scale, which we have to give to opportunity people to decide them.
So our track was to create not smart houses, but more like smart communities, to rethink this existing system, to provide people more opportunities to change their environment around them. And we did short overview of the existing market services, and decided to provide more human interaction between people and provide more human technologies to people, but not so technological oriented services for them. So the project principles is give a balance of centralized system and decentralized that provide people opportunity to impact on home and environment, to provide voting system for people to change their ideas and the environment itself. It is also a hybrid artificial intelligence system, like everywhere home support system based on this intelligent system. It is also a chatbot hybrid system that provide short request for some services, and this is also connected with smart panel inside the home that provide more functions for people who didn't have phones, for example. This is also functional modularity, or like diversity of home services. This is different services related to home, to apartment itself, to the flat inside. It is also about environment around the house, and etc. So we created like smart building phase. This is the product opportunity for communities to manage their homes as they need. So we created like this hybrid system of chatbot in the phone and like home panel, so all people are able to call the service. It's a automated quick services for like master for something. This is also digitalized papers processes. For example, you can vote inside the home. You can go through the state services to vote for example, changing something around the house. This is also integration with existing services like Udo or Airbnb. It is also important who, for example, can find the flat in your house. This is local services for people. And we also provide the network of this building because we created only one simple panel, but this can be in different scales. For example, from small panel in the wing, you can change, for example, the color of your wall, for example, or it can be related to whole floor, or at the entrance, it can be big panel at the entrance, and it can be huge services for neighbors. It can be panel, for example, in administration. It's located in head office, and this is like a more huge scale.
Yes, and we decided not to do our project very difficult and complicated, but against it we decided to use opportunities of other urban services, for example, like Udo, Airbnb, and we will collaborate with them, and through them we made to give people an opportunity to use local services. For example, if you want to ask people to fix something at your home door, for example, and it will take just 5 minutes, why it's necessary to anybody go to your home from other side of city to do it? It's made to your neighbors. And with Airbnb, if your relatives or friends, for example, coming to your home and you don't want to they live anywhere at your district, but want to they live at your entrance, you may again to use local services from Airbnb. Okay, and we want to use the voting services because right now, if you want to change something at your entrance, you should to create this meeting with the owner of the apartment, create so many papers that you meeting with them, and you decide something. But in our project, you made to create the voting through our panel and to vote. And to vote just from Telegram bot, for example, sitting at your work or sitting at the sofa at your home. And it was really legal. We want to use integration with Gosuslugi, Russian services, to be sure that this person is really you are, we told, and using Yegaren to be sure that you're really owner of this flat and you may to vote for this.
And with a simple business model for our project, we provide 2 steps of realization like this. And the first one, Simple Neighbors Digital Assistant, which provides some common services before like a huge scale system. And the second one, it's like digital management company. If it works if we are entrepreneurs, for example, and it includes all type of services or functions. And yeah, the first one is just can be released by existing management company, but the second one is by us. It is huge scale of the system, and like this. This is simple panel interface that includes like only most important services like news, call service, information. Help legal, it's just all type of service that we can use every day from the first step to the second step. And this is just the links between each other. And this is like how it can be look like. And we have also short video. Yeah.
The entrance that we need to fix, and we write some applications to the management company.
We need to register a lot of documents, moving service. If something doesn't work at home, lock, door, elevator, light, etc., you always know in what time your problem is fixed. Neighbors have function allow you to find the service you need among your neighbors. This creates real ties and increases trust level among the neighbors. You don't need to be a homeowner meeting to solve something anymore. You can create a voting while sitting at home through the BF Manager Telegram box and vote quickly. BF is the future of the house management system.
We have one more presentation, and then we are going to have time for questions, if you have any, okay? Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. Now we're going to present you our project. During the previous semester within the city project class, we had a challenge to create the project like urban technology for neighborhood scale. So here you can see, to discover what kind of lifestyle living districts of Moscow has, we visited the particular district in Moscow called Hrashovo-Mnemniki. Hrashovo-Mnemniki is now running the renovation process, and that is also challenging because the renovation process is like all over the Moscow, so it's supposed to be a common situation for many districts. So here you can see that we consider two middle stages of the renovation process. And on the left side you can see the typical solid patterns of district, and on the right like towers districts, the new one. And we were inspired to consider these two stages, temporary stages of renovation process.
So yeah, as Dasha said, now Hrashovo-Mnemniki is in a stage of transformation from one type of urban environment to another. And this transformation is connected with a building, and these buildings are covered by a lot of fences. And we decided to focus on a fence because this construction site is a huge problem for residents who are living now in this district, and we try to somehow rethink this object construction fence, and we try to, and by this we can somehow change the lifestyle of people who live there. And as I said, people who living there, I'm talking about resident people, yeah, they're feeling very stressed, they feel anxiety because They are living in a house that's going to be demolished in a few years in Khrushchevka, and they're living in front of a construction site with noise, with dust, and all this like not convenient stuff.
Okay.
And as well as this, let's say, physical inconvenience, we have this disconnection between developer, local people, and contractor. And we also try to solve this issue of disconnection of these three stakeholders by our interfence project. And this is how it looks like in reality, so it's not so like beautiful picture.
So as I said, the relationships between these stakeholders are not so clear. So we propose not only we are just trying to we're going to propose the solution that can make this communication better. And we just trying to think, what if the exact fence will be not only the physical restriction, but also be the communication platform or some data collection device and all the rest. And will not only protect from what's happening on the construction side, but also help residents and locals and developers. So instead, the physically restricted border will have digital communication platform. So after that, we were trying to look for the object potential, what we can do with the existing fence and how we can transform it into some digital communication platform. So here you can see few properties of the existing fence, like modularity, spatial structure, that significant land and construction site and activities. So we can not only use the potential of this fence, but also we can, for example, power from the construction site. So here you can see the existing module that we have. It has size 2 meters and just a few functions like protections and isolation. And our scenario that we're going to propose is to add the additional function to the existing protection and isolation functions. And it can be whatever, but we focused on a few of them. So,
yeah, and our vision is to create, let's say, modular system, and there each module will be this scenario which we mentioned in a slide before. And as you can see on this picture, our vision of this interfence is a modular system that with which you can communicate. And after that, we came up with an idea of different bricks. Some of them we can so-called smart bricks, some of them are just infrastructure bricks or like bench bricks and etc. And by combining these different bricks, you can create different scenarios. For example, you can make an urban living room or information point, or for example, in a case if construction site is in an area where there's only construction sites and no infrastructure, you can, for example, use this fence if you have some emergency situation to connect with builders or people, whatever people on a construction site. It can be even like a sport ground. And yeah, in the beginning of our presentation, we said that there is a disconnection between these three stakeholders of district, its residents, it's a constructor and developer, and also we propose an app by which these three stakeholders can communicate. And for example, our fans can collect data from the building sites, such as dust level, noise level, vibrations patterns, also noise patterns, and this information can
be transformed.
It can be transformed to information which, for example, local people can use, and they can see like that for now the sound level is normal, or it's not, or it's high, and you can like call to some real regulators, yeah, and they will contact with a developer, and they will deal with it.
And also, developer can control the stages of construction. He, for example, can also get this data information from data and analyze it. What kind of stage is happening over there? So, okay, what we have is benefits for stakeholders. All of them has different, through this application, through this different benefits.
Yeah.
Okay, and now, for example, we can show you the application for resident that can be used by using AR.
Yeah, we decided, yeah, if you look to the right, you can see a prototype of our fence.
Yes.
And where's the iPad? So we decided to use AR as a communication tool, because it's make you to approach to the building, to the fence, and communicate with it. I think you can come closer if you want.
Like local resident can scan the marker and get all the actual information of the construction site and environmental change, like the stages, noise level, pollution, and CO2 level, and all the rest.
So if one, you can try to use it. Anybody want? Okay. For now, it's special app.
Yes, but for residents, it's supposed to be affordable, that they can simply.
But you can use like web page for also AR on web page. So that's it. Thank you.
So we are finished with our content part, and as you see, we have the different scale of projects. Now you've seen only the object side, but also we have the projects done by students in data courses with mapping and cartography. So if there is any questions, because we are almost finishing and we are done with our presentation part, and now if you have anything you would like to know more about the program, on some specific questions, you can approach me, you can ask now or later. So if there is any question, you have a question? No? So you would like to say something, or we just go into the informal part of the party, of the meeting?
My question is, there is no question? There is a question.
If I'm an architect, how important my recent works in portfolio, or you mostly will look for my motivational letter? Which kind of works do you want to see from an architect who is applying for your program?
Do you want to answer or no?
In general, we are looking for creative people, so we don't mind people with more or less experience. What we like is people architects that do good drawings, I mean, engineers that do have good ideas, economists that show some passion. You know, everyone is able to learn anything if they put enough passion. So what we would like to understand is why you want to do this. If you want to do this, I mean, in general, people know what they want to do, but sometimes they are wrong and maybe what they are looking is not here. So we would like to understand what you want to do in the future, what is your vision, why you think inventing the future cities is important. And then with motivation later, and in general, I do interview with everyone that apply, and then it is important to understand why you want to do this and to know that you are not in the wrong place. More questions? Okay.
As far as I understand, you have different topics to research inside technology course and TT project course. How do you choose topics for these courses? Maybe it's question to Vadim or to Andrei. Thanks.
Okay, I will start to answer, but I will obviously let Vadim to do. But you know, in this year is the 100th anniversary of the Bauhaus. You know, the Bauhaus was a school that changed the way education was done about the city and the design, because they merged the technology side and they merged also the arts and crafts in one side. But also in the same school, they put what they say, the design from the spoon to the city. So that means that the same school, they were designing objects, spaces, buildings in the city. And this is what we do. So what we decide is part of our program. In the first term, we will be designing things that you can touch, you can hold more like objects, but that allow you to do a prototype and then to include technology on that. And then in the second term, well, see here we're doing research about how to invent the housing of the future, because you know housing is another important topic right now in Moscow for sure, and in the whole Russia and all over the world, how we can invent new kind of housing. And then about the neighborhood and the urban planning, there are some classes related with data, but there are other ways to deal with that, that is about how to include the technology having social impact, as you saw in some of the projects. So that means that in general, the strategy could be similar to what they start to do in the house, to mix in the same program the vision about designs and small, medium, and big size. And about the topics, it depends on what we discuss with the professors. Maybe you can explain.
So about technology course, it's all themes that you've seen, it's all was introduced by students. But my idea as tutor, so my concept is just to give some constraints to these ideas, because if we are starting to speculate on this super wide and super, I think, over-discussed topic as a smart idea, we are going far. So this time we decided that we'll do distributed systems. It will look as IoT, but instead of going into like classical Internet of Things discussion when we have the sensors and have a central place where we collect information, instead we made it more bottom-up, while we have these autonomous agents as people who can collect information, and then our task was to design services over this collected information. So this is all similarities that you can see in the project that I showed. So my idea, my core idea is to just give this like a thinking framework that will be built on top what we already have and well discussed inside of the media, like this Internet of Things, or it can be blockchain. But then we're doing a critical overview of it, so understanding the possible problems and why is this technology not working right now, and starting to think how to do it more bottom-up and more people-driven. Because for myself, what I'm trying as a tutor to fight for, I'm trying to fight for moving a smart city topic as a political topic to more science topic, basically. Because I think that we need to develop more projects that will build a discussion about smart city not about political tools, but instead about things that merge the technology and the urban environment. Okay. Thanks.
Good. Any other question? No? Okay, so we finish here. Nadia is here open to any specific question right now in the near future. And anything else?
Yeah, so we invite you all the time to our events. We have the series of lectures passing here in Shukhov with the experts in different fields. We have a set of workshops that we will announce very soon, and you can find information about short-term workshops on our Facebook, Instagram, or any social media. So we will be happy to see you among our students. We will be happy to see you at our future events, and thank you for coming.
I would like to, those that are interested, we'll open here, we are under construction. Nadia don't like, but because I am an architect, I love to see things under construction, to see the big road that we have over there. Okay? It's destroyed, but we love destruction. Yeah. Thank you for coming.